Alright guys, what's up? Brandon here. Just going to do a video watch list and a little bit of recap through today's trading day that we had today. Today is Tuesday 26th. We're going to be talking about Wednesday, hopefully pre-market here, the 27th, to be a great day. Everything's looking very, very, very interesting. Alright, let's start with Tesla. If you guys are getting familiar with my trend lines here, I do use pretty much the last 3-day trend lines, usually something like pre-market highs, and then I draw it through current day what we're trading's highs. So as you see this back 3-day trend line on this pre-market high, I ran it through and I used red candles. So red candle to red candle, this is where the trend line started this morning and had been sliced right through this pre-market here. So Tesla did look bearish at the start here. You can see kind of failed the trend line, came down, and as it had a sell-off between the two major moving averages here, the light blue being the 200 EMA, the green being the 100 EMA. Didn't get short right away off the bat on this, which I should have, because it pretty much failed the trend line right away and gave us really good indication here in the close of the 50. Okay, also a great indication it started failing the main EMAs being the 100 and 200 big tech. So after it closed under yesterday's close and kind of ran down, this was my first trade on it right here. 330 and 60s we got in for a couple hundred shares there for the bounce. Anticipated that from that trend line I had drawn there from yesterday's support. I was hoping for the first relief bounce to be right there. Doesn't mean it would have been right there, but once it kind of started going down, it started opening green here. That's where I took the first one up to the moving averages fail. Because a lot of times big tech, almost all tech, and large caps will retrace, you know, in the first 10-20 minutes. So as this happened to sell off and caught the support at 336.6, I called this long. A couple people took it with me, ran up to 100. Quick 2 points there. So as we continue to watch it sell off through the day, come back down to this previous support line we had, took the reversal on. I did crack through there, so another good short signal to be breaking through yesterday's support there and coming down to the lows. This is where I started my swing position because I thought maybe we might get a better bounce out of this low off yesterday, the 327.51. To check my average, which is right around here, right off this anticipating a bounce here at the bottom. So I started a small, really tiny position, 25 shares, something like that, and it came down. And as it was messing around with these two candles, kind of breaking from lows, I'm like, okay, well, I wanted to check how far we actually had to run, right? So brought it up on the daily. Ended up kind of finding 326 to be a pretty decent support. We have tops as far back as, you know, May 17 and stuff. So, you know, as it goes through here, we're working with a double top here, split candle here, a body of the candle here, dual bodies, another top, wick a little shy of it, but regardless, a bunch, right? So 326 as a whole number matched up with a lot of support. So as I kind of just took a quick peek at that as I was starting my swing position, I wanted to make sure I was, you know, wasn't had room to move down another 4, 5, 6, 7 points or something like that. So as it kind of started grabbing here, I felt a little bit more confident, kind of came back up, was a little in the green. I just kind of held the 25 shares through this, and it hit another double bottom right there, just under 326, and then started this reversal. Right as it recovered the 50, I added another 25 shares, so 50 total, and then I ran that from here all the way up to here today. So I mean, that was quite the mover. I think I closed with a little bit over 1,200 on the day in Tesla, just with that swing trade being like 600 of it or 700 of it or so, but that's not going to work from the lows, but give you a small idea on that first top, you know, 4.3%. Not bad. So as we took the intraday swing, I tried to call that out for you guys, even made a quick video about it, of what the trade ideology was going to be with that. As soon as it came back to our trend line that we were working with pre-market, that it had failed. Usually I do those on the 5 minutes, so I bring it back to the 5 minutes. It's a little bit more clean to draw the lines on. So as it started coming back, it reclaimed the 9 is what you're going to look at here, but 50 on the 1 minute. You can swap back and forth. It's just going to be the 50 on the 1 minute and the 9 on the 5. But as you can see, it started, you know, the pre-market wasn't nearly as clean with the 5 minute, but after we had that run up, and regained the moving average, had a great run up, and then even the reclaim of VWAP and 50 right here, in which way they were together. So that was super bullish. After it started busting through the 100, came back, held the 100, which would be a good entry point on these big tech stocks as well, and broke out of our trend right here and just ran. We called in chat to maybe pay yourself around here because you were running into pre-market resistance live and pre-market. So this would have been a good spot to pay yourself in case this thing would have came back and sold and put in a big low. If you were to get down here, you would have wanted to lock in that almost 8 points there, that run. So anyway, I just I had held it because I had 50 shares and I had such a big cushion, and ended up getting up here on the next trend line. And when I got home, I drew this trend line again 3 days back, but I drew it through current high. So when it hit up here, I kind of drew a line from there and hit the first red real quick, and then I was gonna wait and see if I was gonna re-enter this. It kind of had a nice cup, respected the 9, ran a little bit. I didn't do anything with the shares except for take them off back here. I was looking for a re-entry to hold pre-market support right here, like 337, but it didn't end up happening. So took out Tesla, didn't get it re in Tesla. So I just wanted to give you a little recap on the bigger trade on Tesla today. As far as tomorrow goes, resistance is going to be looking right shy of 345, since it did close pretty strong here, coming up to 50, closed, and I had a little bit of support bounce off our trend line here. And even if we draw another one here from 3 day back red, if this wants to cooperate here, and then our next top for the red body candle, and then we're going to be looking at that. So as you can see, came up, had a little fail there, found support on the previous trend line perfectly, kind of chopped sideways here after hours, but it did kind of break over our trend line here. So as long as it stays consistent, and hopefully maybe treads sideways and doesn't sell off too much, maybe holds the 340-50 area, look for Tesla to hopefully curl back up. But its first big resistance point is going to be this just shy of 345 for tomorrow. Alright, we got Netflix. This was another one. This was a buy all the dip days. After that huge sell-off and the big correction day we had on the SPY there's going to be lots of bounces today. And as it did recover the 200 EMA pre-market, that was a big deal to buy all the dips. It did have a big sell-off in the morning there, but held the 100 pretty nicely and didn't even get close to our support. It's pretty far out on the trend line. So as it came down, it was pretty much buy all the dips that you could. And you had a little bit of time here. I can even show it on the 1 minute. It looks a little better actually. There we go. So you had a lot of dip buying here and a lot of starting to make higher lows and started to close under the 200. That was the bullish sign here, and you could have kept buying those dips and risking pre-market lows, which weren't that far away. So every time you see these dips starting to hold up on pre-market support, which was right here, this whole 389 level was choppy, dashy, and same with here. So found support at each one of those areas. Now, by having those, get bought up and then risking breaking the lows and coming back down here, that's why you size appropriately. But buying all these dips, had a nice run up. Sold some off at a couple day trades in between here, a couple scalps. But once it recovered the 50, this was pretty much buy and hold for a run up, which it did today. Started recovering nicely once it closed under the 200 EMA, got real bullish. Had a nice little run up to previous resistance here and kind of pulled back, looped to the 100 real nice and came back up, found new resistance. Let's see what we're working with on that. Had it charted out for about 404.40s, and so this is the channel we're working with now for tomorrow. So I would like to see kind of where these wicks come down here. I'd like to maybe put another line there to remind myself tomorrow of pre-market support and that live where it had a small bounce and got sucked back up before it did. But I'm looking for it to hold, hopefully through this 400 area. 400 was obviously the huge psychological number that we were aiming to get back over. Does have some hurdles here to overcome, but as long as it holds the 400 and looks bullish, Netflix should continue higher. I'd like to see it roll back up. So this would be a long play. I'd expect it pre-market or after hours here to just kind of come up, maybe bounce, test 404, 405, or maybe a couple smaller low highs. As long as it holds sideways, we're looking for it to hold this 399.36 yesterday's close. So I like to see that, and then a nice curl pre-market if it doesn't have a huge gap up, which could happen. You've seen Netflix on the channel here, just kind of, it was on this ascending line we had a perfect bounce today, 388.86 on the daily, and just ran all the way back up to the resistance top here. So we're looking for this guy here, 399 to hold. So we'll see how it goes. Netflix looking for a bullish move yet. MU. This is another day trade and swing today. The number we were playing with here was 54. I have it kind of pedaled up for you guys here where you can see why 54, the body of this candle, has some interaction with low wick here, body, wick here, hammer and body, wick here. You can see all the correlation with 54 and why it was such a strong whole number today. And the swing was for it to start holding 54, and that's where I took it back in here at the hold of 54 once it started closing open and then above the 200 EMA. And that's a always a huge bull sign, and it held well. So right now I have 200 shares open at 54.29. Got about $100 open P&L on this swing that I called out for the hold of 54 and run till tomorrow. It does look really strong. As you can see, the sideways consolidation here didn't break the 50 in live and held super strong all the way throughout. So I wouldn't be surprised. And it did break over pre-market highs here just a tad bit and live highs and after hours. I wouldn't be surprised to see this have a gap up either tomorrow. Might wake up to a nice surprise on the swing to catching up with this resistance, maybe 55, 60, 70s level. If not, look for a steady grind for it to come back down, maybe test the VWAP, and just looking to hold yesterday's close and continue higher for MU as well. I'll talk about Apple real quick. Apple put in a huge day today. I didn't get a chance to trade this at all, but this thing put in a monster day. It was moving really well. It did find resistance here at 186.50s. Again, from 3 days ago. If you would use the trend line, the 3-day trend line system here, if we were trading today, this would be your high. So you would clean this up a little bit. Run this through highs. Wants to cooperate, never wants to cooperate. Alright, there we go. So as we're using the last 3-day highs, using pre-market, we're going to run it into the first red candle, which is going to be about there. Oh my goodness. It hates me. It doesn't want to stick when I click. Please, click it out 4 or 5 times. Okay, there we go. Finally stuck. As the last 3 days on Apple, how I use my trend lines, we go from the first red candle in pre-market here and then slide it right through the next body that we can find at highs, and for the last 3 days. So as you can see, it had a nice correlation, and pre-market sold off 3 days, and this trend line came into play 1, 2, 3 times. That would have perfect rejection yesterday. I didn't get to play. It would have been a big sell-off, retrace to the 100, huge payday. That would have been a nice play. This trendline system I use does work, and I don't see the 3-day trendline system being ever used. Hopefully get a course out for you guys on that. Still working with Connor on that. But anyway, as you can see, Apple would have been an anticipatable move here once it started closing above the trend line. I don't know if psychologically you could have took it because of how crazily fast it was. It was 2 5-minute candles. So I mean, like, it just ran. So as you look at this trend line, right as it started closing and consolidating nicely with all these higher lows, and just did this run, you could have got it and just kind of held through the chop, held through the EMAs, but inevitably it put in a top at 186.53. So I'm going to keep Apple on watch here because we did kind of shoot up to the 9 EMA on the daily here and did have a big pullback because that put in a big move today, huge move today. So I'm going to see what it does at the 50 EMA in the morning. Okay, guys. Ultimately 183.40s should hold, but if this does put in another red day, it's got to hold the previous red body at 183.40s, hopefully to hold that and continue higher. But this with the sharp retract, we should get some slow grind action after it finds a base on Apple. We got here AMD was another one. AMD had put in the 200 EMA recovery today and a nice support on yesterday's close. This was on a real loose watch. I just wanted to see what it would do because the daily was looking quite fretful for a second here. And as it got sucked back up here, you can draw quick support lines here for the interaction, which was going to be this guy right here. Come on, mouse, please work. Base of this candle had some nice play here, close wick here, close body support here, and then held yesterday's close and ran up. I'm going to look for this to hopefully hold the EMAs that it puts in tomorrow. You can see another really strong consolidated bar close, held at 50, Didn't have a ton of movement, but I'd like to see one go higher on AMD. It's going to be on loose watch as well. NVDA will be the last one I talk about here quick. NVIDIA looks interesting because as a swing trader we look for mother candles. Mother candle is an engulfing candle that has an entire body over the wicks and tops of its next candle. So this mother candle right here is engulfing this fat doji. So I just marked out the levels of the high and low bodies of that doji, and I'm going to take it over under. I expect over, but it could go either way, and that's what we're marked out here. So this fat doji and this engulfing day we had behind it is going to kind of dictate how the day is going to go. It's either going to sell off to yesterday's support, yesterday's close and support, 239 area, and have a bounce up from 239, or it's going to start ramping and getting out of that 243.75 resistance, and it's just going to run and hopefully fill this gap up at the 250. So there's probably at least 4 or 5 points on the table tomorrow if this thing gets some volume and gets its butt in gear. But something to watch out for in the SPY. Looking at the daily here, it did put in a whack doji today. Again, pretty much engulfing. The body didn't quite catch the end of this tail, but I'm gonna hopefully look for support here as this gap down, kind of played out though on the daily. This huge, double red under the 50 sucked back up after it had cracked through the 100, which hasn't done that for a while, but you can kind of see it blowing past a lot of support that it had already created for itself in multiple areas, and just kind of cracked and got sucked right back up. And when that does happen, kind of like when you see it happen right here, and it got cracked down right here. Where's another one? There was another red candle right close. Here's a hammer doji one where it does that, where it's like, yeah, it's a high hammer, but as it comes back down here, cracked, it gets slingshotted, right? It gets come back down, it got slingshotted back up, and then when it cracks down past the 100, it got slingshotted back up. Well, this kind of has that feeling to me, especially with this engulfing candle, kind of helping it out. If the market doesn't slingshot back up past this 100 day tomorrow and like open somewhere crazy like 273 or just keep going, which I'll have a breakdown hopefully pre-market, but something to watch from the SPY. This might gap up. There's going to be so many good plays to catch bottoms tomorrow, guys. NVIDIA, Netflix, Tesla, you name it. You're going to be looking for lots of support bounces, just like we had in Tesla today when we had that huge runner intraday. So that's what I got for you guys. I will see you in the morning, and we will reevaluate all the calls then. All right.